Guys, it's 9:15. Thank you for being here on time. If you're here and on time, obviously, if you have your camera on, I like you better. So I really appreciate that. We're going to have a really great training today. I'm excited about it. If you guys want to follow along in the Princeton selling system, it's page 31, controlling your emotional energy. I'm not going to share my screen because I like to see your faces, but we're going to go over really some just stuff right out of the training manual today. So if you're Lisa or Fred, congratulations. This will be the third or fourth time you've probably heard this information, but for most of you, it's probably first time stuff. I have not done this in a while, and we're going to go into it. We've talked a little bit about controlling emotional energy, but particularly we're going to fly through that part today and get to the player versus victim stuff, which when I first found it was transformational to me in my career. It's made a huge difference. So again, if you want to follow along, you can go online, get the selling system stuff, and we are on page 31. So let's talk about this. By the way, I hope you guys all had a chance to read Rich's email from yesterday evening that he sent out about like the conquer the day stuff. And the last sentence I thought was really powerful for me. And he had said something about it earlier in the day and it resonated as well. What we're doing right now is really hard. It doesn't mean it shouldn't be fun. Right. And I think sometimes we think that like, oh, I have less loans. I need to be grumpy. I need to be miserable. We get ourselves into these feedback loops, start focusing on those negative things. And even when I was doing my reading over the weekend, and I was really diving back into the 15 commitments of conscious leadership, this has been really powerful that I could find myself doing. If you start dwelling on those negative, if you feel your feelings all the way through, oh, this sucks, and you go and yell and scream outside and you come back to your desk and you're over it and you're ready to go, that's awesome. Like you should feel yourself. You should do a little angry dance, whatever else it is, bang on your desk, growl like a gorilla, whatever you want to do. But then we need to move forward because if we don't let all of our emotions out and we get caught in that feedback loop of recircling around those things, those feedback loops become a mood, and bad moods can last for years. And when I read that and I thought about that, I was like, oh my God, I think in some ways I've let some of my moods, not necessarily a bad mood, but like in some ways stay with me for years. And it's so negative. You just got to feel your feelings all the way through and get through it. And so we're going to talk today about controlling your emotional energy and really understanding where you're at and where you feel it. And whether you do meditation or whatever else you do, therapy, different things, kind of some self-awareness around where you're operating right now. By the way, December is always a stressful time of year. I've worked in the mortgage industry where things were going amazing in December and people still lose their minds. People have travel coming up. They got family issues. You got gift stress. I don't know that you got seasonal changes and it's dark all the time. And December is a very tough time, generally. This year, for mortgage people, might be extra tough. Although, like I said in my message before, we are crushing this week. It's probably our best week. Like I said, I don't know if some of you guys just joined the call since September or August. So we're doing awesome, and the things we're doing are working. So why is it important to control our emotional energy? Well, we are in the attraction business. That is your job. You are trying to attract people to want to work with you, people to want to refer people to you. And by the way, as human beings, we're only scratching the surface of our ability to understand how in tune we are with each other's energy. Right? There's a story I often tell. Anybody here know who Drew Rosenhaus is? Anybody here a big sports fan know who Drew Rosenhaus is? Drew Rosenhaus became famous because he was Terrell Owens' agent. And when T.O. was losing his mind and doing sit-ups in the driveway, Drew Rosenhaus was there, for all that stuff. But he's one of the more successful sports agents ever. And I'd seen him on TV, and he seems like a too slick kind of guy, just like in general. Like he's just always like a little too slick. He's got that from a TV perspective. What was the name of the lawyer for Stormy Daniels who got in all the trouble and is going to jail for like 14 years? Like the same, what's that guy's name? Somebody knows what I'm talking about here.
Avenatti.
Yes, Michael Avenatti, right? Got that like same vibe. You're just like, this guy's a little too cool for school. There's something weird about it, right? So when the Giants played the Patriots the second time in the Super Bowl, the game was in Indianapolis. It was 2012. And I had a friend who lived in Indianapolis. So I'm like, I'm going to go to the game. I don't even have a ticket yet. I'm just going to fly out to Indy with Nicole, and we're going to figure it out. And I had a friend of mine who had worked for the Giants and Fox Sports for a while, so was able to get us into the Giants team hotel. So we were hanging out there. And we're hanging out with all the players, all the ESPN personalities are coming in, talking to Adam Schefter. It's like one of the coolest experiences I've ever had as a sports fan. If you don't know sports, I apologize. But if you're a sports fan, this is all really cool stuff, right? Steve Young is there, Herm Edwards, Brandon Jacobs was playing for the Giants, hanging out with his wife. It was super cool. And the lobby's full of people. It's like a huge event. This is like probably 3 or 4 days before the game. And literally, I was looking and talking to, I think, Brandon Jacobs Weiss, and like the hair on the back of my neck stood up. And I turn around, and literally all the people in the lobby had like parted. And Drew Rosenhaus walked through, and everyone had like automatically moved 3 or 4 yards away from him. Right? And this is, again, this is a room, it's not because he was famous. This is a room full of people far more famous than Drew Rosenhaus. Okay. And by the way, there are Chris Canty. I don't know if you guys remember, he played for the Giants, won the Super Bowl with them. He was 6'8", 340 pounds. Huge men in this lobby, right? Big guys. And everybody moved out of the way for Drew Rosenhaus, who's about 5'9", 5'10", and just oozing negative energy in a way that I could never explain to you, right? And I could feel it before I saw him. And so there's science behind this, and we are just starting to figure out how important this is. But the vibe that we give out, right, it matters tremendously in terms of our ability to attract really good people to us. And by the way, we get exactly what we deserve when it comes to what we're putting out. So by the way, don't everybody take this personally, but if you come to these trainings and you're sitting there and you're like, you're giving me a vibe the whole time, and everybody else a vibe that you're putting out into there, and that energy is pushing people away from you, whether you know it or not. And you're like, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe you're in your house. Maybe it was, but my guess is that you're probably not totally aware of your energy. You're not committed to putting out the right energy, because if you're not doing it here, you're probably not doing it in other places as well, right? I could always feel it in a classroom when I was in high school, right? Like I felt my teachers would be up there and they'd be putting on their thing, they'd be trying. I always paid attention. I was always in because I felt like they deserved it. Right? I was like, man, like the person, I felt bad when people were talking or whatever it was. I'm still like that, right? I want my energy to match theirs, right? And I want to be a positive energy, right? So controlling our emotional energy is super important, right? And so I'm going to share my screen for 1 second because I think it's helpful to have this visual. Okay. Everybody see that? Becoming aware, forget shifting or changing right now, but becoming aware of which of these 4 energy quadrants we're in, okay, becomes incredibly important in terms of our self-awareness, because when we're meeting people, we want to attract people, okay, we want to be on the positive side of this chart, right? Or some people we know are always on the negative side of this chart. And by the way, all of us spend time in all 4 of these quadrants, okay? The key is, how can you spend more time in low positive or high positive than you do right now, particularly when you're out there prospecting or meeting people, right? Now, what are some of the words or emotions we use to associate with these things, right? Well, high negative is anger, fear, frustration, revenge, negative expectation, right? If I'm yelling and screaming at somebody and I'm all angry and fired up, that's highly negative energy, right? Now, the good news is that most of us don't spend a lot of time here. Why don't we spend a lot of time in high negative? Lisa, you're muted. I don't know if you
burn yourself out. You wear yourself out. You can't be there too long. You just
it's exhausting, right? It's exhausting. And by the way, you probably end up in prison if you're always there, right? Because if you're always running around yelling and screaming at everybody, it's probably not the best thing, right? So we all end up there occasionally, right? But we don't spend a lot of time there. Now, we probably know some people. Yes, Brett.
I think in the high negative category, you probably also very quickly turn people off and they want to run away from you.
Yeah, you're not attracting anybody, right? You know what I mean? Sometimes if you're low negative, there's a certain kind of person that might be attracted to that for a bunch of different reasons. But if you're high negative, pretty much everybody's going to get out of your way, right? 100%. Low negative, sadness, guilt, depression, aloneness, negative expectation. How long can somebody spend in low negative?
Forever.
Forever, right? It's a negative feedback loop. And by the way, giving out that energy pushes other positive people away, attracts other negative people, and we get ourselves into these feedback loops. You guys hear all the time people talking about you are a combination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you want to live an intentional life, you need to be ruthless about not only making sure that you are not spending most of your time in low negative, but that you're not spending a lot of time around other people that are in low negative, because no matter how strong you are, this will drag you down. Right? This will pull you down. Now, by the way, has everybody here had a period, a day, a week, a month, where they experience themselves mostly in low negative? Yeah, you want to bring some self-awareness to that, right? And by the way, there are times in life where that's totally normal, right? To have a time period, you're in mourning, somebody close to you dies, or you lose a job, you're fighting with a friend. Those things are all very stressful, and you could spend some time there. But if you need to be aware that you're there so you can shift. The times in my life where I'm actually most destructive are times where I'm telling myself I'm fine, but I'm stuck in low negative. When I'm low negative and I know I'm low negative, there's awareness to it. I can control it. I can shift in and out when I need to. But sometimes I come to work and I'm like, guys, I'm fine. When someone says I'm fine, you know they're not fine, right? Like that's some of that low negative. Like that's the shift that you want to try to make out of. When are you saying to people I'm fine when you're not fine? And how can you shift? Right? So again, I think what often happens to us is that we think we're supposed to be frustrated or upset when things aren't going well. And so we push ourselves there, right? Some of us have probably been successful because our motivation comes from a place of low negative or high negative, right? It's like, there's no loans. I got to get more prospecting. It's like, I'm going to pound the phones. I'm going to do whatever it is. And it's like, you're spreading that. And by the way, it can be effective, right? Because any activity starts to lead to other things. But who are you attracting? Probably not the realtors you most want to work with. How many of you guys would rather have a referral partner base or a book of business that was mostly people who spent all of their time in low positive or high positive? Yeah, how much better would that make your life, right? And so one of the reasons we talk about mastery so much, personal mastery, right, is because we are going to attract exactly what we deserve. So if you're a person who's going out into the world in low or high negative energy, right, are you going to attract a lot of people who are in high positive or low positive energy? No. Those people are going to immediately get pushed away. You're going to Drew Rosenhaus them. Right? And by the way, like they may not even feel, you'll be like, God, I'm having such great conversations with people. Nobody wants to work with me. Well, what's the vibe that you're putting out? Right? We're all putting out frequencies and vibes. Again, the science has not caught up to reality on this. I can tell you this, and I am not a super spiritual person. I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in magic. I don't believe in anything else. And I am a very much I believe what I see type of person. I lived in a call center environment for more than 10 years. And the people who got on the phone every day expecting no one to answer would make 200 dials and no one would answer. And the leads were assigned at random. And I would see a person sitting next to them who would make 35 dials a day and sell two loans a day. While the other person dialed every day 200 times and no one answered the phone. And the negative and positive expectations, I really believe, I don't have any other answer for you than to say it to you. I believe changed whether or not people answered. Not trying to logic my way through it any other way. Well, maybe when someone answered, they won the phone calls. Maybe that's true, whatever else it is. But I actually believe the energy made a difference. And by the way, Dave witnessed this, Brett witnessed this, and we had a guy named Jim Duffy, who was an older guy who had no sales skills that I could possibly see. He worked in construction his entire life, was like, I want to come sell mortgages. We were pretty desperate at the time, so I was like, okay. He would make like 21 dials a day and sell 6 loans a week. He was our #1 loan officer. It made no sense. Everyone he called, he got on the phone, he sold them a loan. He just believed that it was supposed to happen, and so it happened. Right? And so our beliefs and the energy we put out there changes the other person on the other end. It changes who we attract and who we interact with. So it's really important that we end up in high positive or low positive. By the way, high positive is really hard to stay in all the time too. If you're always in high positive, you're probably faking it a little.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
You should also add into the group that gentleman, Jim Duffy, could not even use a computer.
Yes. He was, again, the most shocking success story of my life. And he did it working less hard than everybody else. He expected good things to happen, right? High positive, happiness, inspiration, confidence, love, positive expectation. Low positive, contentment, relaxation, safety, love, positive expectation. Okay. How many of you guys, and don't have to raise your hand or anything, just take some self-assessment. What percentage of your time right now are you spending on the negative side of this or on the positive side of this? And are you able to turn it on and genuinely shift, not fake it when you go to have a meeting with a realtor, but actually you have some sort of a ritual, which we'll talk about in a different training, that gets you into a positive mindset? Are there songs that you listen to? Is there meditation that you do, a breathing exercise, positive affirmations? Is there something that you do to shift yourself from low positive to high positive that works for you at least the majority of the time? And if you're putting yourself in negative energy quadrants right now, are you doing it to yourself by focusing on the fact that things are hard right now? And there's a story you tell yourself, which is, when it's hard, I'm supposed to be upset. As soon as Rich said it to me yesterday, I was like, oh, I've been having some of that. Me personally, there have been some moments where it's hard and I'm like, oh, it's hard. And I'm like, well, I like hard. I've always liked the hard. It's how I got to where I am. Why am I letting myself slip into a negative thing? I love the opportunity to be a differentiator. I love the opportunity when everybody else is not getting it done to do the stuff and get to the work. What are the stories I'm telling myself? And I slip, right? But I really check in with myself a lot, right? And so what's your check-in routine? By the way, maybe if you're interested in doing this at a different level, maybe you set yourself 4 reminders a day where it says, where is your emotional energy right now? Just bring awareness to it. No judgment, by the way. Don't get mad at yourself if you happen to be in a negative quadrant. Just say, oh, I'm negative right now. And just some awareness to it. Where are you feeling that negativity in your body and how can you shift? Here's ultimately when I find that people are playing in the negative or the positive side of things. And people get really triggered by this player versus victim conversation because they think it's like some sort of indictment about like people who are truly at the effect of other people on something. And what's not what we're talking about. Good and bad things are happening to all of us all of the time. The difference between being a player or a victim is simply this. You either spend the majority of your time focusing on whatever small or large piece of a thing is in your control, or you spend the majority of your time focusing on the parts that are outside of your control, right? So if you were late to this meeting today, a lot of you were, maybe you're 1 minute late, right? Why were you late? Were you late because you chose to stay in the other meeting? Were you late because you prioritized something else? Were you late because you failed to wake up on time this morning? Are you late because you spilled coffee on your shirt and needed to change? Those are all things that a player would say because it's all stuff that you did. But if you were late because my kid is sick, if you were late because my car broke down, if you were late because traffic was bad, if you were late because my computer didn't work, right? Those are all victim statements. And when we are in that victim mindset, we are usually in a negative place. And when we are in that player mindset, we are usually in that positive quadrants, right? And so, again, let me say it again. Good and bad stuff is always happening to everybody. The difference between how positive and how negative you are is very directly correlated to how much of the time you spend focused on the things that you can control and your behaviors that are dictating the outcomes. Again, 99% of something can be outside of your control, right? You're walking down the street, a tree branch falls out of the sky and falls on your head. That's really bad luck, right? You can really focus on like, wow, like I am at the effect of this tree, the wind, the city for not cutting down that branch, There's a whole bunch of things. But if you choose to say like, well, maybe I should have been more self-aware. Maybe I shouldn't have been looking at my phone. Maybe I shouldn't have had my headphones in. A million other things, right? It doesn't mean that it's your fault. It means that you're focused on the piece that you have control of, because if you don't want it to happen again, you have to have control. You have to focus on what you bring to the table. So I'll read this to you guys. Players tend to live most of their lives in the high and low positive quadrants. They'll occasionally have episodes where they find themselves in negative quadrants because they are human and stuff happens. But they don't stay there very long. They learn from experience, adjust, and move back to the positive quadrants. They have what we call responsibility, which is the ability to respond. Their experience on the dark side is only an episode. Victims, on the other hand, and guys, I know no one here is a victim, but just visualize somebody else in your life that you do think has this mindset, and then maybe you can relate it back to yourself in some of the areas where we all act this way sometimes. Tend to live most of their lives in the negative quadrants. When something happens in their life that causes anger or depression, they move to the negative quadrants and seem to get stuck there. They don't have responsibility and can't seem to find their way back to the positive side. Their negative energy and vibes start a feedback loop that affects their relationship with those around them. To clarify, if you're in the high positive quadrant, it doesn't mean that you're pumped up so high that you're hyper and scattered. To the contrary, you're cool, confident, positive, and focused. You have a non-anxious presence. You're very attentive and notice the slightest changes in your client or the environment. You pick up subtle hidden nuances. You're very connected to your client and what is going on. You feel in control and confident in your skills and your ability to help your customers make good decisions. You're in a peak performance state. How much of your time with people are you spending in that spot? When you're meeting a new realtor, are you walking in with your head high and your chest high, confident in your ability, focused on what's going on with them, asking that person questions and dialing in with them to learn about what's going on with them? Are you looking for clues on how you can deliver more value to that person? How much of your time can you spend in that spot? Or are you nervous in those moments, anxious, fearful? Yeah, and by the way, because you have anxiety that comes with meeting somebody new. And are those things, and by the way, they can feel your energy. So how do you end up in this peak performance state? First, you need rituals, a proven process that delivers predictable results. Know what questions you're going to ask when you meet somebody new, right? I always say this, when we were in the call center, we would get 2 weeks after somebody started brand new in the mortgage industry, we would have them on the phone calling people. And we would have them sounding super confident. They still didn't know anything about mortgages, but we could get them to master the script. And if they knew the script backwards, forwards, and sideways, then the person on the other end of the phone would hear a very confident person, right? So what part of your script can you master that brings you real confidence going into your calls? Even if you're not super confident in that you're the best at building relationships or the best at mortgages or anything else while you're getting started. You need to do the work on yourself to continue to get more confident. So here are some of the things, the player versus victim stuff, right? This is the traffic one that we just talked about. The difference is, it's not my fault I was late for the meeting, traffic was bad. That's a victim statement. Sorry, I should have planned for traffic. I'll consider that next time, right? Most of the time when we hit traffic, it's pretty predictable. It's not my fault I don't have loans this month. The market is bad. Realtors are difficult. I don't have loans because I haven't been doing the prospecting activities or I lack relationship skills. I'm not going to let that happen again. So is everybody here, can everybody here think of a person that they are at the effect of other people? They spend most of the time in the victim quadrants. They're having a problem at work. Their boss doesn't like them. It's not fair. Anybody here know that it's not fair people? Nobody knows or nobody's listening, one or the other. Raise your hand if you know a person, or you can think about a single person in your life that spends a lot of their time in the victim quadrant. It's important to identify. You got to be able to see it in other people. Okay. Right. I know people in my life who are like, wow, you know, I hate my new boss. It's like, okay, well, maybe your new boss is terrible, or maybe you're just not doing a good job and you hate the fact that you have to hear it. What are you doing to contribute to that relationship, right? If you have a bad relationship with anyone, there's a pretty good chance at least part of it is your fault. What can you do to fix it? Or is it not important enough for you to fix it? And that's fine too. Do I need to have a relationship with this person, right? So generally right now, what percentage of control over outcomes do you feel like you have? Do you feel like you have, if I said to you, whatever your goal is for 2023, what percentage of whether or not you hit that goal do you think is exclusively within your control? And if you say 100%, which is where some people want to go, right? Maybe, and by the way, that's a healthier way to look at it than to say 50% or 20%, right? Maybe we should consider the possibility that there are things that could happen to us, right? But it's in the 90s, guys. It's in the 90s. Yes, something could happen to us health-wise, family-wise. Things could take us off of our game that would really affect our ability to hit our goals. And by the way, maybe you choose to prioritize other things, right? And that's okay. But for the most part, even in those circumstances, there's opportunity for us to rise above and still get things done that we want to get done. And certainly the market is not going to be the reason we don't hit our goals. It can make it easier or harder, but it's not going to be the reason, right? Anybody have any thoughts on this they want to share? Lisa, go ahead.
What if it's not hard right now? I mean, what if
Tell me
it's
about it.
What if it's super easy right now? Because realtors have time. I spent 5 hours yesterday with 2 different agents just doing business planning for 2023. What a blast. I had a great time. They had a great time. It was the best day I've had in a long time. What if it's not hard right now? What if it's supposed to be this way right now? It's a pause. It's a reset. Take the time, build the relationships, and then the loans will come. But if we're so damn busy doing the loans that we don't have time to do the fun of building the relationship, it's either or. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing is either good or bad. It's thought that makes it so. When we're so busy that we can't spend an hour and a half having a really good quality meeting with a referral partner, we're all like, oh yeah, but that's awesome. Is it?
Yeah, I think those are really good points. Yes, I do think it's easier to get realtors to spend time with you right now than it's been in the last few years, for sure, right? And I do think realtors are looking for answers right now in a way they haven't been looking for over the last few years. And maybe you're the person that has them. So yes, I think it's easier to build relationships right now than it has been. But you need more relationships to get more loans. And we know that, and that's part of the gig going forward. So I think it's a good point. So guys, I'm going to stop there because we can get into rituals potentially tomorrow. I'll let you guys know. But this is where self-assessment really comes into things. You just heard from Lisa. Lisa's mindset is not only am I a player, but I'm going to choose to focus on how whatever is going on in the world is actually, this part of it is easier for me. And that's how I'm going to go approach it and make sure that I conquer it. Super awesome way to approach it. How many of us right now are telling ourselves a bunch of stories about it's okay that we're failing because, or worse, we're super negative because it's hard right now, and so we tell ourselves that we're not enjoying it or that we don't like it.
And make no mistake, I have 1 loan in this month, guys. So it's not like I'm sitting here preaching from a position of power going, oh yeah, I'm killing it. I'm not, but I will. Because the relationships pan out. Again, farming, it's not instant, right?
Building your muscle.
Yeah. Well, and if I'm sitting here spending the time cleaning my house, which God knows I could, that's not super effective, but I could convince myself that's a good use of my time today instead of calling agents going, hey, have you done any business planning? Let's get together. Let's do it. This is fun. And it is. It's a blast.
Yeah, I do think it's important to have fun, guys, because we have to enjoy the journey. So this is the part of the journey that we're in. Let's find the ways to make it fun. I was super excited to do this training today. Fired up for it. You can ask people I had my meeting with before I got in here. Ready to go, right? I'm going to have fun with it. I'm having fun going out and doing my recruiting meetings. I'm driving all over the place. I'm having fun with my time in the car. I'm having fun calling people and reaching out to people I haven't talked to in a while and doing those different things. You got to find a way to have fun with it because that will attract the people, right, that are looking to be inspired, right? Your realtors want to work with you because you're the light right now in this environment. If you're thinking optimistically and talking about how it's going to be great and focus on business planning the way that Lisa is, people are going to want to work with you. They're going to be attracted to that because of the vibes that you're putting out. Any other thoughts or questions on player versus victim or the emotional energy quadrants? Anybody here find that it's hard to self-identify which quadrant you're in? So funny. I have a hard time. I do. I can think, when I think back on a time, I know where I was. But if you ask me right now, I'm never low negative when you ask me about it. Because even just asking about it, I pretend to shift, even if I haven't shifted, and so I'll lie to myself about where I'm at. So just be aware of that, because maybe I'm the only one, but somehow I doubt it. Right? Being in denial of your low negative is not shifting. Pretending is not shifting. You know what shifts me? As soon as I start reading workbooks, or I'm learning, immediately I shift. There's nothing, or watching videos about how to do something better with work or what we're doing or how to build better. If I go read a book on how to build better relationships, or 15 Minutes of Conscious Leadership, or The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, or Ninja Selling, I read one chapter, I shift from low negative to low positive very quickly. Learning really shifts me more than anything else. If it could be a documentary on lions on TV, and if I'm learning, I'm happy. I love it, right? You got to find your things that make you genuinely shift, right? Because it's not just about pretending or faking it, right? Which, by the way, if you have to fake it in the beginning to find it, go for it, right? We certainly don't want to be going out depressed to realtor meetings. But at the same time, the power becomes when you become really aware of what helps you shift and you spend time doing that stuff. Coaching, business planning with realtors, with loan officers, super shift for me. When I'm helping somebody else get to where they want to go, it's a very easy shift for me. Doing these trainings, huge shift. I come out of here fired up and love doing it. What do you love doing that helps you shift? Maybe for you, it's mowing your lawn, going fishing, a walk on the beach, reading Harry Potter books. Figure out whatever Hannah smiled like she's a Harry Potter fan. Find what helps you shift, right? A genuine shift, and focus on that. So guys, our mindsets through this winter, through our December, our holidays, our dark days, whatever else it is, who do we want to attract? And by the way, I know this sounds gimmicky, but what kind of energy are you putting out on your social media, right? If you're absent, that sends a message. If you're out there preaching the positive stuff that's happening or the things that are going on or sharing your good news, or even if you're just sharing other people's good news, you are now projecting positivity and positive moving forward, and people will start telling themselves stories about how you are a positive person. They want to work with you. So leverage those opportunities as well. Send a message out to the world, market yourself, brand yourself as somebody who is focused on the positive, right? Any other questions about any of this before I let you guys go? Cool. Do we want to train tomorrow on rituals and strategies to counter out the dark side? Or do we want to do something different? Here's what I would love for everybody to do. Go through the selling system stuff today. If you want, I'll throw this into the chat, or I'll have Olivia throw it in the chat. Go through it and tell me where you think, what things that we haven't talked about that you would like more training on. Just do a quick scroll through and see what looks interesting to you. And then shoot me a message and let me know what you want training on, and we'll do some of that. Or if there's any other topics that you want to hit on for tomorrow's training, let me know. Also, please rate the training, be brutal, give me feedback, help me make it better for tomorrow. I appreciate you guys. Happy Sunday, everybody. We're off to a tremendous start to this week. Let's have our best week in a very long time. Go find your one more loan, whatever amount of loans you think you have this week. Let's go get one more, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Happy selling, or Power Hour. See you in Power Hour. Happy selling, everybody. Thank you.